You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. Court dismisses government's attempt to deregister the NDC party. Cyberbullying targeted at Edith Nawakwi angers women in Livingston. COVID-19 beyond the health sector calls for multi-sectorial collaboration government. In international news, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe resigns because of ill health. And in sports news, Nasilele laid to rest. For the details, do join me shortly after this break.
Msika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Msika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444-726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you a filmmaker? Well, you are exactly what we're looking for.
Camnet TV is calling on local filmmakers. For more details,
you can visit our headquarters in Ibex Hill, next to Hilltop Hospital.
Contact us on 0972 277467 or
0962 444 726. Camnet TV.
Not just another channel.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. The Kabwe High Court has dismissed with costs the deregistration of the opposition National Democratic Party NDC. Announcing this development to the media, NDC Vice President Joseph Akafumba says High Court Judge Isaac Kamwendo found the state's attempt to deregister the NDC party irregular. Mr. Akafumba says it was folly of the government to use civil servants to shrink the democratic space by deregistering opposition political parties. The NDC Vice President further says the judgment will enable the party to be in full gear countrywide. We have more in this report.
21st of August 2019, the National Democratic Congress Party NDC was deregistered by the Registrar of Societies surrounding so many issues in the party, including the party president Dr. Chishimba Kambwili and Mwenyamusenge, the NDC former party secretary general, fighting on the ownership of the party. So much was said and accusations were made as Chishimba Kambwili accused the Patriotic Front conniving with Musenge to deregister NDC, citing constitution issues. A year later, after fighting the case in the courts of law, the National Democratic Congress Party have emerged victorious in the case as a certificate has been returned.
Madam Registrar, let me now address you. You are a civil servant. I was in those offices and I was your boss and I know what it takes. You must learn to face politicians and tell them this is not right. By doing that, you are guiding your minister. There are certain issues that the late President Sata told me to do when I was permanent secretary. But I would face him and say, no, sir, the book says this, we can't go like that. But if you are going to be dancing to everything, the deregistration of our party was 100% political, engineered by Home Affairs Minister Kampiong. We are fortunate that whatever one wants to say against the judiciary, there are still men and women in the ranks and file of the judiciary who will stand and row by the book.
National Democratic Congress Party Vice President Joseph Akafumba has announced the Kabwe High Court on the 27th of August 2019 ruled the opposition political party did not deserve to be deregistered as it met all the requirements. Mr. Akafumba stated the party is aware the deregistration of the party was a political move engineered by Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo.
And it's from that point that the Registrar of Society issued the certificate. Cancelling it is not as if it's not chicken feed. You cannot just wake up because you are a registrar, you cancel the certificate. And that's what happened. And this is not new. We saw the registrar of societies banned and deregister the MMD for Nevas Mumba. We saw them again come and deregister Harry's party, which is the DP. But the courts of law have said no to all these things. And we were next in the chopping board. I'm happy to announce that the Kabwe High Court yesterday found that the registrar of society was outside the line. Wow. They have called our bluff, and therefore our certificate has been restored. And because of the nationalization of the PF, the registrar was, the High Court was categorical in their judgment that the registrar should not be the one to be shrinking the democratic space in this country.
He says the continued deregistration of political parties is worrisome to Zambians, as he believes the Registrar of Societies is unprofessional. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
The Opposition Alliance spokesperson James Lukuku has charged that the privatization attacks leveled against the United Party for National Development UPND President Hakainde Hichilema by the Forum for Democracy and Development FDD President Edith Nawakwi is politically motivated. Addressing the media Friday, Mr. Lukuku has accused Ms. Nawakwi of eyeing the vice president seat, hence coming up with such propaganda. He says the UPND leader has on many occasions explained the privatization issue, wondering why she is once again bringing up such issues when the country has many challenges that need to be brought before the government. Mr. Lukuku says he is saddened that opposition leaders tend to take pleasure in scandalizing one another in order to be favored by the ruling party. We have more in this report.
Why did she go to the radio station without empirical data, without tabulated information, which was supposed to convince Zambians that she was speaking from an informed position?
After verbal attacks between United Party for National Development Party President Hakainde Hichilema and the Forum for Democratic Development FDD Edith Nawakwi, now Alliance spokesperson James Lukuku has his own to say.
So we are saying that she must have gone to the radio station. We understand that Dr. Frederick Chirwa had a very strong team of privatization. Even when they were tackling the issue of drafting the Privatization Act, it was done by experts. And so we find our brother, the member of an alliance, President Hakainde Hichilema, very, very innocent in all of these accusations that only come when elections are coming close. You cannot just be depicting a person to be corrupt, to have misappropriated mine assets and stuff when elections are close. We should still understand that there have been a lot of what must have been done in the past for them to correct what they are trying to correct now.
James Lukuku says it is a well-known fact that Ms. Nawakwi is trying to scandalize Mr. Hichilema because she is eyeing the seat of the vice president in the ruling Patriotic Front, PF. Lukuku wondered why the privatization story only comes up during elections in the country.
So we were very, very disturbed and thought of making a clarification to say that Madam Edith Nawakwi was eyeing something. You know, there's nobody in this nation that doesn't understand that Madam Edith Nawakwi wants to be the vice president of this republic. She has always thought she could replace Madam Inonge Wina. And it's unfortunate that at the time the vice president is battling COVID-19, somebody wants to gain the trust of the Patriotic Front by piling up lies, go to radio stations and start scandalizing innocent individuals, just because she wants to gain the mileage of a trusted PF surrogate.
He says HH should not be blamed for being a rich man because he invested well from the privatization story, while others misused the money they earned. James Lukuku has advised opposition political parties to work together and offer checks and balances to the ruling Patriotic Front. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Meanwhile, new Congress Party President Peter Chanda has called for the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry on the privatization that took place under the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy (MMD). Mr. Chanda told journalists at a media briefing that UPND President Hakainde Hichilema should not take offense when people ask him about how he acquired his wealth. He says many people that have information on what happened during the privatization exercise would like to speak out. Mr. Chanda says all those that will be found wanting should be punished and wealth taken away from them to compensate the victims. Mr. Chanda has condemned the MMD for going to sleep when the privatization process was taking place, in which the UPND leader was at the time a consultant for the process.
After the Commission of Inquiry, because if we set up a Commission of Inquiry, then in this case, you understand, we are going to have the truth. There are many people that are ready to speak, and I, for one, I can tell you there are people that have been calling me and telling me to say, we know a lot of things of how the privatization issues went and how they went wrong. And here we are not looking at that this Commission of Inquiry should be set up targeting Mr. Hakainde Hichilema alone. No. We are talking about all who participated in the valuing of our assets, selection of bidders. I believe justice should be served. We can't continue to talk about the same thing which has devastated this country in a bad way. And I want to state, how can somebody who participated in the privatization, he could have advised and said, no. I've got a skill and I know how we can turn around these companies. And it is sad that I see Mr. Hakainde Hichilema always boasting to say he has got a skill of valuing the business and disposing of the businesses. I mean, the best skill that one should have is industrializing and building industries. Like I can give an example of one Zambian man who is the son of the soul in this country, Mr. Charles Bota, the ShopRite general manager. Look at from the time he took over as the ShopRite general manager. Where is ShopRite today? He's busy setting up branches, opening up more Hungry Lion, and more people are getting more employment now. Now, one shouldn't boast of having a skill of disposing of. I mean,
various women in Livingston have expressed concern with what they have termed as lack of respect towards the Forum for Democracy and Development FDD leader Edith Nawakwi following her recent radio program on Hot FM. The women, who include Zambia's For Unity, Peace and Development SUBED President Mary Ngoma, expressed disappointment with the cyberbullying subjected towards Ms. Nawakwi, a move they say should be condemned by all. She says it is not right for most youths attacking Ms. Nawakwi, who addressed various governance issues on her recent radio program in Lusaka. Another woman, Fobe Kaoma, says the conduct shown by youths is worrying, considering that Zambia is a democratic society which accommodates various views, which must be sober and respectful.
As ZUPED, Zambians for Unity, Peace and Development, women in Livingston, we have come together to condemn the youths of Zambia. We have been following the media platform, the social media, and we have discovered that there are some youths that are posting some insults on the media concerning our mother, Madam Edith Nawakwi, the president of FDD. We are here to encourage or advise, especially starting with the leaders of the political parties in Zambia. We want to advise them to train their youths in a manner that they will be able to know how to react to matters. You know, as I'm sure we all know, us who are following the media platforms, we know what is pertaining on the ground, especially this week, where the youths have risen to insult our mother. Yes. As women, because you know ZUPED, we stand for the marginalized, the youths, the women, the disabled, and the like. So because Mnawakwi is a woman like us, that's why we have come up to speak on her behalf. Of course, the youth have got the right to react, but they should react in a manner where they should show respect, because they are talking to an elderly person.
What has happened to our friend, our mother, Nawakwi, it's bad. Even the line of where she is as a politician, as a businessman, it's a woman, it's affecting her, which is not good. She's supposed to enjoy her freedom. Yes. And even these who are talking about rubbish things, some come even from worse homes than Nawakwi's house. So let us have peace and let us mind our own business, personal business. If it is a political issues, there's a time for politics. There's time for everything. So let us leave Nawakwi alone.
Magoba Ward Councillor in Kafiwe constituency, Bumba Malambo, says despite the reduction in gender-based violence cases as indicated by police, the battle to end the vice is still far from being won. Councillor Malambo, who is also a child activist, has noted with sadness the number of gender-based violence cases being perpetuated on children still high. Councillor Bumba has since called on various stakeholders to join hands in the fight against GBV. Earlier this week, the Zambia Police Service released the 2020 second quarter gender-based violence statistics, in which 4,409 cases were recorded, with 28% of them being children. We have more in this report.
Gender-based violence has continued to be problematic across Zambia. In the second quarter of 2020, 4,409 cases of GBV were recorded. Under sexual abuse, the country recorded 795 cases, representing 18% of all reported cases. 596 victims were girls and 173 victims were females. These figures have since worried Magoba Ward Councillor Bumba Malambo. Ms. Bumba Malambo says the possibility of more unreported cases of sexual violence against women and girls is quite high, which makes the situation disheartening.
In these homes, just go around and ask. You find there's a child who's being abused. Right now, as we are talking right now, there's a child who's being abused. So we need to protect those children, and they need to know their rights. It involves the education system. They need to introduce topics that teach children, deliberate topics. It has to be there in the syllabus. Children have to know, when you're touched like this is what happens. You need to report to this such and such a person. And our police, victim support, I've been to some victim support units. I couldn't believe how they treat these victims. I could not believe it. And you know, this is why we are saying Parliament, MPs, councillors, we have to push together so that you know, the victim support units are heavily funded.
Ms. Malambo further calls for more concerted efforts from government stakeholders and the community at large to join the fight against the vice. She further adds that traditional practices have also largely contributed to this problem, charging that women and girls have to be heard.
Children in the rural areas where the tradition is even worse. We are talking about children where there's a single parent. We're talking about children that are being kept by relatives. Those are things that we need to look at as a community. So it's not a fight for one person. It's not a fight for the minister. It's not a fight for a councillor. It's a fight for the entire community. Mothers, they have to come on board. There are mothers that, from my experience, that are bringing the rape issues now, when their daughters have already grown up and they were seeing their fathers abusing the little girls. You can imagine that kind of linkage that we have. It's so big, it's so broad. And it's not women in the village, it's not women in rural areas, it's women even in workplaces, they're being abused. It's women who are going to school, it's women who are educated, they gang rape you on the way. It's a matter for everybody. It's a matter for fathers, it's a matter for the boy child as well. And that's why I was really concerned with sexual abuse in Zambia. That's why now we have even branched off from just educating the children to now even telling them, if somebody touches you like this, this is what it means.
Reporting for Camnet Television in Lusaka, Zambia, na Mwinga.
Government has revised the condition for people wishing to contest in various positions on the international level. Addressing the media Friday, Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malangi explains that government has realized the shortcoming in the conditions attached to competing at international organizations, hence the change. The minister says this is in a quest to increase the placement of Zambians at international organizations. Mr. Malangi says anyone who is suitably qualified credentials being advertised and a Zambian national will be eligible to compete. The minister was speaking when he availed Ambassador Albert Nchanga, who is recontesting as AU Commissioner in charge of Economic Development, Trade and Mining and Tourism at the African Union. Meanwhile, Ambassador Nchanga, who once served as ambassador to Ethiopia and current commissioner at the AU, is grateful for government support in his endeavors to represent the country on the international front.
I've taken particular note of past shortcomings that made it difficult for our nationals to aspire for these coveted positions. The current government has since put in place measures to support any suitably qualified Zambian who aspires for these positions. All that is required is that they be an upright citizen and be qualified to compete favorably in their given areas of expertise. This initiative has further been enshrined in the country's diaspora policy, which was launched in April last year and is currently under my ministry's oversight. Today, I'm pleased to reintroduce a familiar face, the distinguished diplomat Ambassador Albert Nchanga, whom the government, under the guidance of the Republican President, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, has deemed it appropriate to put forward his candidature to recontest the position of AU Commissioner in charge of Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry and Mining for the period 2021-2025. I have no doubt about his eminent qualification for that position.
So this reflects the success of Zambia's commercial, economic and development diplomacy. I'm a child of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and certainly we have been able to bring about that fruition. Other than thanking His Excellency the President, I also thank the entire government, because when the government decided to nominate me as candidate, they set up a very, very effective campaign team made up of ministers, made up of permanent secretaries, made up of technicians, and they were able to spread the message around the continent that Zambia should be supported, and Zambia was supported.
Still to come in the news, COVID-19 cases surge as Ministry of Health pleads for observance of 5 golden health guidelines. For now, we take a break. Do stay with us.
I have used Oracle Pure Glycerin for 2 years now. It has really worked for me. It has cleared all the black spots on my face. It has restored my skin beauty. It also smoothens the skin. Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for perfect skin. If it's not Oracle Glycerin, then it's not pure glycerin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618 and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customerservice@lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
You're watching Camnet TV World News. We continue with the news. COVID-19 has claimed one life at Levi Mwanawasa Hospital. The deceased, a male aged 46, is said to have underlying health conditions such as hypertension and diabetes. This brings the cumulative death toll to 283. Health Permanent Secretary Dr. Kennedy Malama has told the nation that COVID-19 is still active, contrary to assertions that the country has stopped recording new cases. Dr. Malama charges that the pandemic has gone beyond the health sector, calling for concerted efforts from all. He says this demands a multi-sectorial collaborative response that will reverse the COVID-19 trends. We have more in this report.
Since the outbreak of COVID-19 in March, a cumulative total of 11,779 people have been infected with the virus, of which, unfortunately, some have succumbed to the virus and died. In the early days, measures were put in place then and still in effect now to stop the spread of the virus from person to person. It was discovered that large gatherings were a source of COVID-19 spreading, hence government's call to ban large gatherings by issuing a statutory instrument to be used as a guide. With all that said, the country is still recording high numbers of people contracting the virus. Health Ministry Permanent Secretary Dr. Kennedy Malama updated the nation on the status quo in the last 24 hours.
In the last 24 hours, Zambia has recorded 178 new cases of COVID-19 out of a total of 1,224 tests we conducted. This brings the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in the country to 11,779 cases. The 178 cases are disaggregated as follows. We recorded one facility death at Levi Mwanawasa in a 46-year-old male patient who also had underlying diabetes mellitus, or sugar disease as people may call it, and hypertension. The cumulative number of deaths, therefore, linked with COVID-19 now stands at 283, all of which we've classified as follows: 92 deaths due to COVID-19 and 191 COVID-19 associated deaths. 105 patients have been discharged today, bringing the cumulative number of recoveries in Zambia to 10,945. In summary, cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in the country, 11,779, including 283 deaths and 10,945 recoveries.
Dr. Malama has also urged people to strictly adhere to the 5 golden rules of COVID-19 prevention, among them masking up, social distancing, and hand sanitizing.
Let me re-emphasize that COVID-19 outbreak in Zambia is still active, and we must ensure that we apply concerted efforts to make a difference. It's clear that the impact of COVID-19 has gone beyond the health sector, with repercussions felt across the various sectors of our society, not stressing the socio-economic disruptions our country has experienced the past 5 months. This diverse effect demands a multi-sectoral, collaborated and comprehensive response that will reverse both the trend of the outbreak and the negative economic impact we've experienced. This, we can reverse the trend as a collective. We continue hearing sentiments that COVID-19 has finished in Zambia. We haven't reached that stage. When we are informed by the evolution, the epidemiology of COVID-19, we shall guide the country accordingly. For now, we don't need to drop the guard.
Sharon Kalimbola, Camnet News, Lusaka.
In other news, the Consumer Unit Trust CATS has charged that a lot of Zambians are likely to be thrown into poverty line if government does not intervene by adjusting downwards the cost of production. CATS Programs Coordinator Ishmael Zulu has noted that many Zambians are failing to sustain their lives due to the high cost of production as a result of high fuel prices and electricity, coupled with disruption of economic activities as a result of COVID-19. Mr. Zulu has also urged government to ensure the stimulus package that was released by President Edgar Lungu benefits the most affected Zambians. Meanwhile, Mr. Zulu has expressed concern over the country's health system, which he says needs urgent attention now more than ever. He adds that inadequate health facilities in hospitals located in far-flung areas might be a contributing factor to the recent high record of brought-in dead persons.
So for us as an institution, when you're speaking of cost of production, there's two main things involved. You look at fuel prices, then at the same time you also look at electricity prices. Last year we saw an upward adjustment for both electricity and fuel. When ZESCO made the application to the ERB to increase the electricity tariffs, as an institution, CATS, we made a submission to the ERB stating that this upward adjustment shouldn't go through because of the adverse impacts that it would have on the economy. In our analysis, we indicated that around 260,000 people would fall into poverty because of the upward adjustment of electricity. Because electricity is an essential service that you can't survive without. Many people, it consumes many people's budget that are in the far-flung areas, that are in the different districts. They haven't been getting funding for quite a number of time. And now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, it begins to expose these problems that we've seen even more. There are many people that are suffering different health challenges. For now, the focus is on mitigating the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, providing the testing kits, providing the health facilities for those that are showing bad symptoms of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Zambians for Unity, Peace and Development, ZUPED, has challenged the clergy who are in the habit of opposing decisions taken by President Edgar Lungu in developing the country. ZUPED Vice President Ronnie Jere says inasmuch as the Zambian constitution allows for divergent views, it is important to give credit where it is due. I beg your pardon, says that it is important to give credit where the government has worked well, citing massive infrastructure development across the country. In a statement made available to Camnet TV News, ZUPED has further hailed the independent churches of Zambia, ICOs, for visiting President Lungu at State House, a move he says should be emulated by other well-meaning Zambians. Mr. Jerry has also applauded President Lungu for his open-door policy, which he says has enabled many stakeholders to meet him for advice where necessary.
We, the Zambians for Unity, Peace and Development, wish to commend the independent churches of Zambia, ICOs, for showing solidarity to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Edgar Lungu, during their recent visit to State House. ZUPED realizes the challenges that His Excellency is going through, especially during this time when the global economy is failing due to reasons that include the COVID-19. This is a time that the clergy should rise above politics and give solidarity to the government in office. While some sects of the clergy have decided to take a partisan position, ICOs decided to maintain its resolve to work with the government of the day. ZUPED realizes that the church plays an important role in uniting the country as it acts as a channel for maintaining peace and unity. This fosters development. We want to thank His Excellency, the President Edgar Chagwa-Lungu, for embracing all stakeholders, including church mother bodies, despite receiving condemnation by some stakeholders for doing what he feels is right for this country.
The Kalumbila Multi-Purpose Cooperative Society Limited has urged young people to stop being over-dependent on government and move from their comfort zone. KMC's chairperson, General Chilekwa Mambwe, says Zambia is endowed with a lot of opportunities that youths can tap into. Mr. Mambwe said this during the signing ceremony between partners in Mission Works and Kalumbila Multi-Purpose Cooperative on Friday. In this MOU, the cooperatives have received a bus worth 250 kwacha, and Mission spokesperson Reverend Friend Chigole expressed gratitude and said the gesture has come at the right time. We have more in this report.
Luapula Hydropower Corporation has today, 28th August 2020, handed over a minibus costing about 250,000 kwacha to Kalumbila Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited and the partners in Mission Works PIMW, who have been in partnership for some time now. And that is not all. Luapula Hydropower Corporation has already sourced $700 million to benefit the community in Luapula. The power utility company has also signed tripartite MOU with Kalumbila Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited and the PIMW. In this regard, KMCS Chairman General Chilekwa Mambwe calls on young people to avoid always depending on the hands of government for opportunities, but join cooperatives in order to begin making ends meet.
Decided to do another MOU with Luapula Hydro Corporation. They have a $700 million dollars project. They have already sourced for funding, and all they need is to work with an organization that has a heart for the youth in our country. And so together with Luapula Hydro Corporation, we have seen that as Kalumbila, these multiple, these mini cooperatives that we are forming countrywide under the Ministry of Youth through NYDC can actually receive the much needed empowerment, because depending only on the government to do everything is not going to work for us. So we have seen that it's very much imperative.
Handing over the bus, Luapula Hydropower Corporation Company Secretary Katambi Ulawayo says the gesture was merely meant to demonstrate the love the company has for the community.
Into the communities that we're operating. And yes, we are setting up a project in Luapula province, but our ability and our intent to reinvest into the community is not just limited to the locality within which we're operating, but it is within the borders of Zambia. Where a need arises in the Republic of Zambia, we as a company stand ready to partner with not only the government of the day, but also entities such as Kalumbila Multipurpose Cooperative and partners in Mission Works.
PIMW spokesperson Reverend Fred Chingole expressed gratitude for the gesture.
You see, the mind of Jesus Christ was practical. He came, he conquered, and he went back. But he still is practical today. And that is a challenge to all of us who accept him, that we should be able to be practical as well. And that is what drove our president of the PIMW. How do we partner? And what is partnership? To us, through the vision of our president, partnership, in our local language we say.
Reporting for Camnet Television in Lusaka, Zambia, Namwenga Mwenga.
Speaking on the sidelines of the MOU signing ceremony, Kalumbila Multi-Purpose Cooperative Society Limited Chairman Chilekwa Mambwe has warned some members of the general public who are using the name of the cooperative to sell phones to people. Mr. Mambwe says that is contrary to the cooperative's agenda. He has since advised unsuspecting members of the public to report such perpetrators to the police when they come across them.
Don't sell phones in public, in communities. The only phones we have, for instance, in Mandevu, in Munali constituencies, we have been selling the forms for the higher bus where people buy shares. Also at radio, at Christian Nation FM radio, we do not sell our forms in communities. The people that are selling the forms are stealing money from you. And so we would like to warn the public to say, if you find such people doing such a thing, report them to the police or do citizen arrest and take them to the police.
Still ahead is international and sports news. Stay with us.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant Save Nations to Develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy-saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise. It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. In international news, Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister has just announced his resignation. Shinzo Abe said it was a difficult decision to resign from office. With Shinzo Abe's resignation confirmed, journalists are now looking back on his political career. In other news, Lebanon is rejecting an attempt by Israel to reform the UN peacekeeping mission that protects their shared border. Israel and the US want to push through some changes, but critics say they are only designed to pressure the Lebanese armed group. We monitored Al Jazeera for more on these stories.
For most of this century, Shinzo Abe has dominated Japan's politics. He comes from an influential political dynasty. His grandfather was Prime Minister and his father Foreign Minister. The conservative politician rose through the ranks of his Liberal Democratic Party and became Japan's youngest Prime Minister since World War II in 2006. But that stint ended the following year due to ill health. 5 years later, he returned. If his first term was marked by his political inexperience, the second had a renewed focus and agenda. What became known as Abeconomics was a series of ambitious reforms aimed at boosting Japan's struggling economy. His vision of a wealthier, stronger Japan came with a lifelong ambition to amend the country's pacifist constitution, which bars it from hostile acts except in self-defense. Many Japanese oppose those constitutional changes. but he did manage to repeatedly win elections.
As a result of the stability that he brought, the fact that he's won 6 national elections, that has basically been unopposed, and really has shown no sign of losing his power really up until now in his 8th year, that Japan has been well governed, has been predictably and consistently governed for that period, and he has managed to translate that into a much more visible role for Japan in Asia and globally.
Abe strengthened security and trade ties with the US, making Japan one of its closest allies. And despite territorial disputes, he warmed up to regional superpower China. But he stirred controversy by repeatedly visiting the Yasukuni Shrine, which honors Japan's war dead, among them convicted war criminals. And Japan's wartime legacy led to renewed friction with South Korea, causing their worst diplomatic and trade dispute for decades. The 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and Fukushima nuclear disaster was a further test of his leadership. Another came in 2020, when the coronavirus pandemic scuttled his plans to showcase Japan on the world stage by hosting the Tokyo Summer Olympics. The world's 3rd largest economy, already on the slide since 2018, slumped to a record low. But Abe did succeed in being Japan's longest continuously serving prime minister, even as concerns about his health resurfaced.
UN troops have been in southern Lebanon since 1978. First, to confirm an Israeli withdrawal, and then to keep the peace between enemies. 14 years ago, they were given an additional task following a months-long war to keep the area south of the Litani River to the Israeli border free of arms and fighters other than those of the Lebanese state.
It was supposed that there won't be any limitation, actually, on the ability of the UNIFIL forces, with the support of the Lebanese army, to be agile and effective. From that time up till now, things became really rather relaxed.
Fuad Sanura was the prime minister during the war between Israel and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah in July 2006. He tried to push for a greater UN role to help the state impose its authority across the country. UN Resolution 1701 brought about the cessation of hostilities, but failed to give UNIFIL powers to enforce authority despite increasing its troop numbers.
UNIFIL has to completely coordinate with the Lebanese army and to operate within the mandate of the Security Council resolution. This is our understanding of Resolution 1701. Hezbollah won't accept any changes.
Backed by the United States, Israel is now pushing for UNIFIL to be tougher in the way it deals with Hezbollah. It wants the force to be able to search private properties and suspicious sites without prior permission.
Especially those areas where events happened crossing the blue line, like the opening of the tunnels, which UNIFIL did not have an access yet to, or the firing of missiles. And all areas around and close to the blue line where right now UNIFIL is restricted from going into.
And some say it wants to go even further.
Israel wants also to make sure that that the expansion of the military, of the role of UNIFIL would extend to the Syrian-Lebanese borders to make sure that there would no longer be smuggling of arms to Hezbollah.
UN Resolution 1701 calls on the Lebanese government to secure its borders and entry points to prevent the entry of illegal arms.
We now look at sports news. In sports news, the football family paid its final respects to former Zambia national team physical trainer and Red Arrows coach, Captain Fred Nasilele. Even amidst the strains of COVID-19 restrictions, hundreds of mourners from the military, football, education and union sectors converged at Mutumbi Cemetery in Lusaka. Nasilele, who is credited as having been part of the cadre of football brains that changed Red Arrow's continental campaigner, also left a mark on NAPSA stars. through his stint as a teacher at Chizongwe Technical Secondary School, where he became a notable talent Hanasa, he saw various upcoming footballers in their formative years. And moving on in sports news, Kafue Celtic member who was on a loan at Red Arrows Football Club, Francisco Mwepu, has signed a 2-year contract with SK Setram Graz Football Club in the Australian League. Francisco Mwepu will join his elder brother at the same club, Enoch Mwepu, who has been with the club for quite some time now. Kafue Celtic has thanked Frederick Amor and the management for ensuring that the transfer happened smoothly through this period. Kafue Celtic management has since wished Francisco well as he embarks on a new journey in a foreign country. That sports item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a look at the headlines once again. Court dismisses government's attempt to deregister the NDC party. Cyberbullying targeted at Edith Nawakwi angers women in Livingston. COVID-19 beyond the health sector calls for multi-sectorial collaboration government. In international news, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe resigns because of ill health. And in sports news, the Natsilele laid to rest. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from the book of Isaiah 26 verse 3, and it reads, "You keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts you." This has been Camnet TV World News, not just another channel, and I have been your anchor, Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. God bless.